This is Andrea with Parking Lot Debrief. All right. This one I've been excited about. I've got literally my best friend here, Caroline Chaboya. Um, you all have that friend that you text about how your belly's doing that day. That friend, or how this job went, or all of that. And I've said it again and again that my best friends have come from this career. Most of my best friends are either deaf or an interpreter that we've spent an uncomfortable amount of time with each other throughout a semester or other jobs and conferences. So, and Caroline is that from the last handful of years. So, who are you? Short bio of who you are.
Yeah. Hi. Uh, my name is Caroline Chaboya. As Andrea said, we are best friends, met on the job, bonded through the job, trauma bonds through
Yes.
jobs. I am originally from Washington, D.C., or Northern Virginia, just outside of D.C., and I currently live in Austin, Texas. I've been living here for almost 8 years. I have been interpreting for, oh geez, like 11 years now, I think. And I love it. It's the best. I primarily work in post-secondary higher education settings, but I dabble in a little bit of everything. And yeah, that's me. I have a dog, I have a cat, I have a partner here in Austin, and just that's it.
And a BEI legal.
Yeah, yeah, I got
I got
that.
to brag for you because that is something to be proud of.
I haven't done much with it. I have the paper, but I'm too scared to, not scared. I'm too scared to
All
go
we
to.
got to do, just get it and then stop.
Yeah. I just have the paper for one day when I'm brave enough to actually explore that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's up on the horizon.
But yeah, you and I have talked about what on earth could we talk about on a podcast episode and everything and anything we could talk about because we do. But then we got going about tying together what has happened in our professional life in every aspect that has helped inform our personal life and has shaped who we are. And I've got 20 years in, you've got what, 12, 13 years in of this job. And it shapes who we are. It affects our personal life because there's little tidbits that we take in. So we just compiled a list, and this may be all over the place. So buckle up, friends. But this is just what what we've taken from our career and have placed into our personal life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like it runs the gamut of like fun, light things and then like
Yes.
deep emotional intelligence and like spiritual transformations
Yes.
that have come from doing this work for sure.
And I imagine what we're going to talk about, many people can relate because I mean, if you've taken a look somewhat inside, then hopefully you can relate to what we're talking about of what we've done. And you, for the most part, to set the stage, have been mostly freelance. You've had a staff job here and there.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say primarily freelance, like 90% of the work that I've done is freelance. And then I've had a couple staff jobs here and there. The job that I have now is like quasi staff, but I wouldn't classify it as like a full-time 9 to 5 type of staff job. I have also had that experience, but yeah, primarily
Which
freelance.
definitely adds to what we're going to talk about. Because same, I've been freelance. I did a short stint in K-12 and then freelance for the 99.99% of my career, and then staff for 4 weeks.
I know the
So fresh
fresh takes,
nine to
talk about
fiver,
the
suffering through.
transformation.
Whew. So the first thing we both thought of that comes to mind of how this job has kind of shaped who we are and helped us navigate the world is literally navigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you like to say about that? Because you just did a trip.
Yeah. Okay. So I recently went to Japan and I've traveled like into a few countries now internationally, but the most recent one being Japan. And I was thinking as I was navigating the trains, which are like huge and take over the whole country and are incredible, so overwhelming, but I was able to just hone in on what I needed to, even though there was so much going on. And I know that's because in our job, we have to manage so much, whether it's before the job, while we're on the job, after the cognitive process, the administrative processes, the interpersonal skills, the soft skills, all of it is being like manipulated and navigated through on a daily basis. And sometimes like at different points throughout one day, it is so different depending on where you are and who you're engaging with. So I think it creates this, when I was in Japan, I was like just feeling so adaptable and like it was so easy to navigate something that seems so complex. And that's definitely not the only time that that's come up. I mean, there's lots of areas of life where just being adaptable and being able to think on the fly and think in new situations and navigate either physically or like mentally or emotionally or cognitively different complex things is something that interpreting has given for sure. That if I wasn't an interpreter, I don't know where I would have learned that skill.
Right? Where else are we going to learn to do many processes in our brain at the same time and then still function? In terms of navigation, yeah, I've traveled Europe in different areas as well. And I often was with a friend who was not as savvy at navigating or willing or able to take on the stressors of driving a car in a different country or the language barrier. I'm sure you can agree of different countries. Gesturing with them was much easier than me even trying to speak your language or you trying to speak English. So, like, the best interaction you had it too was when I met a deaf person in another country.
Yes.
Screw the native language of that area. I can sit and talk with this deaf person much easier, even though we don't even share ASL.
Yes. Yeah. And I met deaf people in Japan, and that is where I like understood the most of what was going on. In the 11 days I was there, it was those like 2 to 3 hours that I was like, oh, I'm having full conversations with people and I understand what we're talking about and I'm learning about the culture in a different way because I have access to this visual language and I know how to interact with um, people of all sorts of cultures and you know language backgrounds and all of that.
We're because to tie it to what we do, because at freelance, we are thrust into unknown situations, even if we have an address. The address is probably wrong. Even if we have a building, it's probably not the right one. I can remember getting on a school campus and then everything was under construction. And so I couldn't go the way Google Maps told me to while I was walking. So you stop and ask the maintenance fella and you get a ride on his golf cart. Like you would learn how to navigate, you learn how to ask questions in the right way to find out where you need to go. And I'm not afraid to ask questions anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
afraid to approach anyone and be like, "Can you help me, please?"
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that is a big piece of this too, is just comfortability of engaging with all sorts of
Yes.
people, not being afraid to ask questions. I feel like something that's so common, especially with like our generation and even younger generations, is being afraid to like make a phone call to
Yeah.
like all that because nobody has to make a phone call these days. And I don't feel that. I mean,
Oh,
there's
I don't want to
certain
call.
times where I don't want to, but
I don't
like,
want to call. I'll look at a website and get on a chat before I got to call you, but I will.
but that's more out of like convenience, not out of fear. Like, I'm not afraid
Right. Yes.
to interact with a random person or seem awkward because, yeah, we like show
Oh,
up
yeah.
to these places all the time. So many times a week, I'm like, I don't know anything. All I know is I was supposed to be here. This is the room number
Yes.
I have. This is the email that I have. And somehow that
Help
always leads,
me.
yes, exactly. And it leads me to where I need to be. And I have no problems doing that in my personal life either.
Right. That's transferred over. I mean, I think maybe I didn't have a problem with it before either, before this job. And maybe I can't even name it as an extrovert or introvert thing. It's more of, I don't have any shame. No, I just, often students say, well, how will I need to know. There's a lot of worry of freelance. I'm not going to know. I still don't know. And I think we become comfortable with not knowing what the hell's going on
Mhm.
pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Which to like apply that to a broader like meta level of we don't
Is
know any
freeing.
but that's like that's that range of it goes into this like weird spiritual, not weird, but definitely this detachment of we don't know what's going on a grander scale. So who
Yep.
cares? I
Who
mean, yeah,
cares?
who cares?
I just know where I gotta be and do my
Right,
job.
right. Just talk to people and ask the right questions. And it's not that deep. And
It'll be okay.
also, yeah, I don't know.
And
So just
who cares
believe,
if you look silly?
yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you brought up the adaptability stuff of like I said, literally every day is different. Literally every job, even if it's a consistent job, it's always different. People are wild and crazy in this world, so we never know what someone's going to say. And that's helped in, the real world of not related with my job, of just like being able to just see people be people, and
Mhm.
that's okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think it because we see so many facets of like humans and human interaction, whether it's an individual human or seeing them communicate with each other and watching successful communication happen and then kind of watching as unsuccessful communication happens and figuring out kind of where we fit into that. I don't know. For me, it's allowed me to just learn how to like let go and I don't know, because I do have a tendency to want to control things and know what's going to happen and control the things around me. But because in my job we have to let go of that so much, it's a practice in my everyday life to also just see
It
what
is
happens.
what it is. That's
Yes.
another piece I have here is I've learned a lot on this job of what I can control and what I cannot control. Identifying it is the first step, and then being okay with that, and then letting the hell go of what you can't control, which is like majority of the job. Um, like you said, has helped in real life of can I take account for what I actually can do right now? What can I control?
Yeah. Which most of the time is, I mean, all of the time it's I can't control other people,
Right.
which has been helpful for me because always ever since I've grown up, I've always wanted to like not in a
It's a
manipulative way,
safety
just
thing.
like ease my own
Yeah.
of, you know, I want to know what's going on and I want to have control over my environment and releasing of that has been big, which I think also part of that is like distress tolerance,
That's a
which
great point.
a part of not knowing for me, I mean, it was a process of feeling so anxious of not having these answers and then developing a tolerance for sitting in that space of, okay, this is uncomfortable. And
And
I,
that's okay.
yes. And it's not, and there's nothing for me to do here other than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it's gonna be okay. And that happens in work all the time. So
Yeah.
then when it pops up in my real life, it's much easier to navigate. Not perfect. I certainly have my mentee bees from time to time, but it's just easier to understand like the grand scheme of things, I think.
Yeah, that's something definitely for students because I think it's a very human thing for that's a form of safety to
Yeah.
predict, to know, to have some understanding. And I think that's the a big not drawback, but a big con that people avoid freelance for that reason because stability, the jobs, are they going to come in? That's another piece too that we can go to of you learn a lot about yourself in terms of what feels comfortable in terms of how much work you put on your calendar or don't put on. I like you and I constantly joke about this is like, I need stability. Things are crazy. And then we get some stable ground for a good week and we're like, oh my God, I'm bored.
Yeah.
So like it's this weird constant push and pull of that balance. And I don't know that I ever strike a good one. So
I know. I think I always kind of titrate like just too far to the other side where I'm like, nope, I hate it now. And then I shift back. I haven't really found this. I will say probably right now where I am, honestly, is some of the best like middle ground I've found in stability while also having ad hoc things that pop up. But yeah, that's another piece that we are navigating is like seasonality and scheduling and fitting that into our personal lives and then planning our personal lives around certain things that happen. So, yeah.
And that's a huge thing people have to take stock of when they step into this career. And many students, I ask them all the time, like, are you someone who can manage your own schedule? Can you? If you cannot, freelance may be tough. Okay, do you stay somewhat organized? Somewhat. Can you, you have to learn a lot about yourself as you step in slash go into this career because freelance is going to push probably every button that you have.
At some point in time. And I remember being so new. I probably wasn't even like actually professionally interpreting at any point at this point and talking with seasoned interpreters and listening to them talk about like burnout and vicarious trauma and like wanting to leave the profession in their like early 40s, you know, closer to an age that I'm getting close to. And I remember thinking then like there's no way. What are you talking about? This is the
How?
right. Like this is the best job in the world. This is the best community. Like these people are incredible. The people we get to work with, everything is wonderful about this. So how in the world do you get burnt out work to the point where you want to leave this profession? And now that I'm 11 years in, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It's just the so yeah, if you aren't somebody who can really dive into like what you need and who you are and develop in that way, I can see how it's taken a lot of like self-awareness, self-work, figuring out systems to not get to a place where I go, I just can't handle the amount of labor and
Well,
cog.
and we're solid people, and I still feel that half the time.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
It's tough. It's tough
and
to
we can go and then since that kind of segues into boundaries of learning a lot about yourself. And we're talking about the job and all of these pieces, but these are all very personal things that then do show up in my life. I have been someone who does not like confrontation. My skin is not that tough. And I do speak up for myself, but not directly. But I'd say after 20 years of this job, the way I value myself as a professional and what I know I'm worth and how good of a job I think I do and know when do not do a good job and know where I fit has definitely fed into Andrea being stronger as a individual of like, well, why do you fight for your pay over here? But then when it comes to an argument with your husband or with a friend, you back down and you are more fearful. I know those are wildly different emotional aspects, but like it's really helped me try to put value of myself in all the spaces.
manage. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Understanding where my value is and what value I bring, and also understanding that I think for me through work, I've been able to also gain this perspective of it's not personal. So like I think a lot, and so then even though they're personal interactions, there's so much that happens day to day with friends, with family, with people that you interact with that like maybe somebody said something this way or somebody looked at me this way or whatever. And just being able to be like, it's not about me. So it just settles my emotional response pretty quickly. Not to say that I don't like, there's certainly things I do in my personal life where I am personally accountable and it is a personal thing and I have those conversations and I'm very open to them. But more often than not, because we interact with so many humans on a daily basis and then like over the course of a year and over the course of 10 years, we have so many of these interactions that I've kind of started to realize that like it's not about me. It's not that big a deal. There's no reason to get so worked up about certain things. yeah, again, it's just about communicating, which actually kind of segues into how this job has influenced how I communicate and expect other people to communicate with me, which isn't always the most fair, but has been influenced by this job for sure.
Yes, same. I'm very particular now about what words you use,
Mhm.
husband, sister, friends, because in my brain, I'm interpreting those words. What is the meaning? What is the tone? What is the feeling behind what's happening? Because that is my job every day is to get the feel of the room. I obviously it shows up in my personal life as well. And yeah, what words are used and what tone,
Mhm.
very attuned to.
Yes. Ever since I've become an interpreter, whenever people go like, it's just semantics, I'm like, yes, it's semantics.
Correct.
Semantics matter. What you say matters and meaning what you say matters. So I have this like interesting, I don't even know what to call it. Like I want people to be very intentional with their word choice, which isn't realistic and isn't fair
Many
of
people,
people.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And I understand people just talk and all of that, but I do have this subconscious need for people to be intentional with their word choice. I think because I feel such an obligation and responsibility to do that, and I don't achieve
yeah.
it all the time, but I just hope that, I don't know, I just expect people to be able to communicate in the same way. And maybe anybody can say that in any relationship or anything, but I think because we are so honed in on communication,
Language, words. We
tone,
have to feel things out. It's,
right?
yeah. And now I have zero shame. I'm like, I don't know what that word means.
Oh yeah, all the
Can you
time.
tell what does that word mean? Or I interpret that word to mean this. Is that what you mean? Like
Mhm.
when it comes to friends or partners or people,
Oh,
or even
I'm
on the job, I don't have any shame. I don't know what that means in this. What does that mean? I should know what that means. Help me.
100%. Yeah. Yes. Or even like my poor partner will say a word like slightly pronounced, and I'm like, oh, you mean this?
Right, because we work with words
Yeah.
all day.
Which I hate that. Yeah. I don't know. So, but it's definitely a part of the job, just words and language and communication and caring about communication
Yes.
and kind of sort of expecting people in my life to also have that same while understanding that that's like an unrealistic expectation and not something I can fully uphold day to
Right.
day, you know?
Well, and that going back to boundaries, you and I talk about this a lot in terms of boundaries and how we figure out how to relate with agencies,
Mm-hmm.
what we find acceptable in terms of their etiquette, their office hours versus our office hours versus how we interact with teams, our boundary setting and expect. I don't know. I'm sure you have things to say about that, but like my needs, my team's needs, my ability to communicate my needs to my team and them not communicating it to me.
Yeah. I think that that even goes back to like the emotional navigating and negotiating whose needs are the priority and that's amongst teams and then we have our consumers in the room and what are those needs and how do we navigate that and negotiate that and set those boundaries and then there are certainly like professional boundaries that I have that I don't have personally and then vice versa like there's
Yes.
professional boundaries I don't have that I do have personally and that changes. I don't know, it just changes. So I think a big like common thread is this ability to take like a pulse check, to really be self-aware of where I'm at, what I need, what other people need, how much bandwidth I have, which has developed over time in a way that I never thought I would
Same.
be able to develop. And yeah, I don't know. It just because I grew up drastically different with just a drastically different mindset and an inability to not inability but like I just couldn't handle certain things in certain ways and I never felt like I could whereas through this profession and through um whatever skill building took place, like it applies in my personal life where I can navigate these things just better and differently and in a more successful way.
Same. And a shit ton of therapy. Let's add that.
Yeah, I
For
should
me, at
take
least.
therapy. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today, like how therapy also played into the
Yes.
my work, and
Yes.
it does. It just feels like this loop of, yeah, feeding into one another, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, um, more just understanding, which then leads to like empathy and compassion and patience and all of those things that can be extended to communities, like your communities at
And
large.
yourself. I feel like a lot of this, that's what the therapy's for, because we learn it for ourselves, then we're able to do this for others. I always tell students the the I the years I made drastic jumps in how of being a better interpreter were the years that I was in therapy for a while to fix, not fix, to remedy, to take care of me, that then I was able to do the work better, personally and skill wise. Like, I don't know how skill came about with that, but like it all is tied together.
Yeah, I agree. I think the times I feel the best about my work are the times I feel the best about myself.
Hmm.
And in that, they feed into each other, and life happens, and there's days that I don't feel great. And that's not to say my work sucks ass, but it's just not like doesn't feel like my A plus work. Um, and then that can influence kind of how I feel personally. It is, even though we talk about it all the time of like, and I even said it earlier, it's not personal, it's not about you. It is still such a um
Personal job.
part of us, you know? And I think part of that is because our work is so ephemeral, like it's so
What does that
short
word mean?
term.
I don't
Oh,
know
short
what that word
term.
means.
I think I
Short
used it.
term.
Sorry. It's very like it's so fleeting. We don't
That.
bring anything home. I don't have any projects. I don't have any well, you know, you can make video projects, whatever. It's just different.
The
They
job
are
itself, we leave, and then that is it. It's off of our hands, it's out of our body, and then we go home, and that's it, which is so beautiful. And I feel the same. It's really hard. Sometimes I feel like when I'm at home, I'll do like house projects or things because I want to create something and have a physical thing I can tangibly see, because our job ironically is so visual and interactive, but then it's just gone. It's literally into the air.
yeah.
That's a great point. That's hard in a way.
It's definitely an interesting thing. You know, like I do musicals quite a bit, and that's something we work so hard for like 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then we do this thing for 2, 3 hours, and that's it. That's what's done, and it feels great and it's so exciting. But then it's like, okay, now what? I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's all. It all just, and then so then because of that, in my personal life, I seek these more tangible things that will produce something, and I don't know. And that leads to like different hobbies and different things I do and different people I interact with.
Yeah. We go ahead.
I was just gonna say, which even like on on the like an interpersonal side of things, our job is interesting because even like sometimes those relationships feel very ephemeral. Like we meet somebody who's going for a job interview, and then we interpret the job interview, and then we leave and we never talk to them again. Like, did they get the job? Did they
I
not? I
know.
don't know, you know, and I don't. And so I think that kind of also influences how I engage in personal life relationships, and um the ways that I connect with people and keep in touch or don't keep in touch or whatever, just because everything is so feels very, it feels like
Fleeting.
sand running through your fingers in our job, you know?
Well, and since I got this job, our job is interesting. Many people are interested in what we do, how we do it. I love explaining our job just because then it's an exposure for them to go, "Oh, this is what this is." Deaf people. Okay, so it's at least in their on their radar, but it does bleed into whenever I meet someone, I'm like, what do you do? I always want to know what job they have because I'm like, have I been there? Have I interpreted it? What do I know about it? Because we are everywhere. We interpret everything.
No.
We are in spaces that my mom, as an X-ray tech, didn't get to go
What
because
did
she stayed
don't
in the
even know exist. Like people
right.
don't even
Same.
realize
How many
what's
jobs
gonna
have we
be.
done? We didn't even know existed.
Right. Right. Like, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Right.
The way I describe it to people too, yeah, I'll be like, think of anything you've
Yes.
done ever in your life, at every
Ever.
moment ever, and somebody has probably interpreted that. Like the likelihood of an interpreter being there is high,
Yeah.
which is
I was like,
I
it's so wild.
don't know what other profession kind of has that same experience. And I think because of that, because we see like every nook and cranny. We see contour, not every, but we see so many contours and crevices of the world that it does give this perspective that I otherwise don't think I would have. And
Could we?
yeah, and it's hard to describe to people.
Very, very hard to describe. And that's why I like freelance, is it gives us a peek into all these places. And I always tell people we're really great trivia folks. But then I always play trivia and I'm like, I don't know any of these answers. So I'm always like, I
Like
guess I'm not.
one random one.
I'm like, I guess I'm not. But we know a lot, a little of a lot, and maybe not so much of one thing. Um, I have had a new resurgence in the last, what, 10 years of like an obsession with the English vocabulary. I'm like, what does that word mean? How is it you? Like, I really, before in life, in just general, Andrea is not much of an academic. I just don't care. But then now I'm like, I want to know the meaning of that. Where'd it come from?
Yes. Yeah, I've
Um,
been very into English since getting
this,
into recording. And I grew up, so my oldest sister is like a big time. She majored in English and I grew up with her always doing like that thing of, I would say something's ironic and she'd be like, that's not actually what ironic means. And then, so I have become that and I get it. I don't know. It's just so fun to play with language and learn about it and see how people use it and how they use it correctly or don't use it correctly or whatever. And not even from a judgment perspective, but just like sociolinguistically, what do people do with language and what does that I'm so fascinated with communication and what does this lead to and or not lead to and what is the goal of communicating, and I do that in my personal life all the time and people don't even have no idea that I am analyzing the shit out of our conversations
yes.
in a very loving way, but it's such a just automatic process that I'm constantly analyzing language. And I'm always scanning. I've realized that I'm always paying attention to like when will I need this? When will I need this? When will I
Yes.
need this? Because you never know when something's gonna pop up
Because it
in
will.
work or here and just constantly like trying to remember little tidbits of the world.
Yeah. I also have learned, and it seemed cheesy when we were kids, where they'd be like, you can do anything when you grow up. You really can do anything. And now that I have been in the room with the doctors, have been in the room with the lawyers, have been in all these rooms, I'm like, oh, you really can do anything. Like, oh,
Because some
really?
people, how would they be doing this? Yes, yeah, yeah, I feel
And
that.
they just learned a thing and learned it well. And I just it's such a simple thing, but like my brain now goes, no, really, actually, you really can do anything you want, pretty much, if you learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So that will definitely influence how I parent my child, how I speak to others of like, they're actually, I don't have a bias that's hanging back here of like, really, you probably can't, but no, really, anyone can do anything because we've seen everyone in all of these roles and they're just human like you.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
um, and we barely touched on it, but like we've just been in so many situations that other people haven't been of of birth, of death, of you don't have cancer, or the emotional part of it was an interesting journey for me. I feel like I went through a journey of it from the beginning of my career to the middle till now of learning how to take care of myself in those moments. And I still don't know that I'm great at that, which I don't know how that applies to real life, but more of just maybe just going, I've been in the room, I've felt that. So if this were to happen in real life, I can know what to expect, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something for me that's been interesting is, like I said, like growing up, I was a super sensitive, highly sensitive kid. And I would still say I'm like a pretty sensitive person. I'm on the more sensitive end of the spectrum. But because we have seen so much, I definitely have created this mechanism of compartmentalization that I'm
That.
so aware of. I feel it. I know
Yep.
when it's going to happen, and I can say to myself, shut this off now. Like, you got to just do that later. And I can do it in a way that, like, never ever, I would say from birth to probably 25 years old, which is a long time. And
Dang.
actually, 25 years old was not that long ago, but several years ago. I did not feel confident in my ability to, and I'm not saying shut down emotions, but like
Manage.
regulate them, manage and
Yeah.
regulate. And so like when I'm on the job and I go, nope, that's got to go away, it can go away. And then I am able to unpack it later. It's never perfect or
That's a
beautiful.
huge piece, though.
Yeah, there's certainly days that I have where things pop up, and then in my personal life, I've experienced in recent years like significant trauma and grief where that can show up in work, and but I will say because of the work that we do, that's probably in the most recent years I have the traumatic experience of my partner's mom dying and the ability to navigate that and support that and hold space for that and just be in that. I think that's so much of that skill came from what I do professionally
I
and my
got I got chills because I agree.
yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine any career has what it has to teach you what it teaches you, but we just get such a variety of places and spaces and people.
Yeah, that when like real life shit happened, I was like, I got this. I can operate well under pressure, and I do operate pretty well under high stress moments. It'll come out later when I'm sitting in a field surrounded by trees and I'm like crying
Right.
for 2 days or something. I don't know. Like it'll certainly come
That's an
out.
important piece to allow it to come out. That's a huge thing that I would say that's what I mean in my journey. I had too many emotions. They all came out. Okay, no, wait, shut them off. And so then I shut them off and I noticed they weren't coming out anywhere. Oh, that's a problem. So now I'm fucking angry and I don't like you, deaf people, and I don't like you, interpreters. And I don't, it's because I'm not, and I'm putting it. So I learned a lot of that in my 20s, I think. And um, that's a huge piece you brought up of learning how to, and I just experienced this standing on a stage and doing conference work. And I'm like, oh, hold it together. Like, because it was so fast and it was really complicated. And that is a skill that takes, I think, years. And maybe some people don't even get to it of, I notice you panic. Thank you, panic. I don't need you. I need to do my job. Keep going.
Yes.
And you're right. That's a great skill to have in personal life when I need it in moments of I need to be stable. There's many times when I don't need to be and I can lose it and that's fine. But if I need to be cool right now, then it's definitely a skill I've learned. That's a great point.
Which I think ties into that like distress tolerance piece of just being able to hold those really uncomfortable emotions and feelings, um, and then being able to do something with it later. is a big, big thing that we have to do in our job. And
And
it has,
everything we're talking about, they don't teach in an ITP.
no, I
And
didn't, I didn't even know I was a business owner after I my ITP. I didn't know I owned a business until I went to file my first year of taxes. And I was like, I'm not self-employed. And they were like, yeah, you are actually. And
who
I
are
said,
you?
okay, well, I only made $2,000. And they say, yeah, you still have to pay us
Damn it.
part of that. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, so they definitely don't. I mean, I will say in my ITP, they touched on boundaries, self-care,
Right.
I
Right,
care
right,
trauma, but like do like not even a
right. Because how
probably.
can they? These are all very personal journeys that happen professionally and personally.
Yeah.
Um, the of any job, people aren't going to like you, and you're not going to like everybody. Deaf people say no, thank you. You say no, thank you, agency, or I don't want to work with this team, or tough stuff like that has definitely come up, and then I don't know, toughen me up.
Rejection.
Rejection. It
Yeah.
happens.
I think it goes back to, yeah, failure, rejection,
Sucking, and it's okay to suck for a moment.
sucking, critical feedback,
Yeah,
all of that. It's such an interesting thing to experience, like to notice what you experience and how you process that and then what you do with it. But
that
that is something that this job, from at least for me, my trajectory, I know all sorts of interpreters who do it all sorts of different ways and have their own journey. But for my path of becoming an interpreter, there was such this emphasis on self-awareness, knowing yourself, what, not even emotionally, but like your work and how you do in your work and what kind of work can you do. And there was so much skill development and watching yourself and critiquing yourself and other people critiquing you and all of this stuff where that did kind of like, I don't know, any type of rejection. Of course, it doesn't feel good, but it is a little bit
a little bit
less of
less.
a thing because we experience it
Oh,
somewhat regularly, you know?
yeah. And you then can take it kind of a step back of being like, I'm just not a match. And that's
Right.
okay.
And I won't be a match for everybody, and vice
Right.
versa, or every job, or every yeah, exactly. And going back to like, it's really not personal. It's just
Right.
whatever the dynamic is of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going through the list here. So if you've got other stuff to add,
Let me see what
um,
else I have.
I have always kind of felt this way, and this career has definitely bolstered that I belong nowhere, but I belong everywhere.
Mhm.
That's kind of a theme that's kind of been my whole life. I fit in with everybody, at least just again, this is just my, but I feel like freelance is that we are everywhere, but we don't have a home. I have colleagues, but I don't have someone I see every day. Um, and that's still true for my life also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I do think so. I know we've like mostly been talking about things that because of interpreting, I've learned this in my personal life or I've developed this in my personal life. But I do think also that just who I am as a person lends itself very well to the
Yes.
job that is interpreting.
Same.
And
Yeah.
and vice versa. The job supports who I am as a person and how I like to be like that. Like I do feel like even growing up, I always was kind of a chameleon. I was just but belonging nowhere and everywhere, popping into friend groups, but not always feeling like I belonged in a friend group or where I was. So having that personality type feels very supported by interpreting, by freelance interpreting, because everything changes. And I think this is also kind of like an ADHD thing for me of like every day is different and the schedule is different and there's all sorts of administrative tasks and organizational things that I can like hyper fixate on and stuff that I just as a personality type very much enjoy doing.
Mhm.
and meeting different people. And I love sign language. Like I love signing and I love being a part of signing communities and engaging with people in sign language and meeting new deaf friends and interpreter friends. And I've always been like, ever since I learned what fingerspelling the ABCs was, I've always been about that, like from 10 years old. So part of it is just kind of this match, but there's also just so much that we learn from the work that I'd be so curious. I wish I could somehow understand two different paths, like the interpreter path, Caroline, and the life I've had.
In a
And then if
different
I see
timeline.
something totally different, what is that timeline?
Yes. Same.
Where would I be and what would I, and I'm sure there's like 80, 100 that we
Right.
could be on where we end up somewhere different, but I'm very pleased with the one I ended
Yeah.
up on. So how did I get so lucky and how did it all work out so well? I don't know. I
And
am
it
always
is a, you're right. They both feed each other. And I always say interpreters are a weird bunch. We are a collection of strange freaking people, which is the best part and the weirdest part. So you don't have to have one type of personality to do this job because there's not one type of deaf person or one type of situation. You need all of these. People lean more towards what feels comfortable to them. This K-12 job that is stable, that has insurance that I go to every day feels good. Great. So I always tell that to students because they're like, well, where am I supposed to? How am I supposed to know? You test it out. You see what feels right and know yourself. But yeah, I love the administrative tasks.
Ah,
I get to fill out invoices and spreadsheets.
I know. I get to make my own and
I
plan all
love
of that.
it.
And it's just, yeah, it's just wonderful. And I think that whole journey and whatever's to come ahead has just allowed, like in my personal life, I have this trust that what's going to happen is going to happen. I'm going to be able to meet whatever moment I need to meet, and I'm going to be able to show up for it. And I do just feel like that evidence for me has been mostly collected through interpreting and
Yes.
my journey in becoming an interpreter that then goes into my personal life and I go, okay, I can handle all of this.
Well, and this is uncomfortable, but this meeting's only for 2 hours. It's only 2 hours, 20 more minutes me, 20 more minutes my team.
Six more
And then
20 and then
yeah. And so when I'm in uncomfortable moments in life, I'm always like, this is not forever. Nothing is forever. So yeah, a lot, like you said, distress tolerance, a lot of being comfortable with being uncomfortable
yeah.
is like the theme of our job.
Yeah. And in my personal life, something that I apply that to is like working out. I love type two. We talk about this a lot, type two fun, like hiking.
Suffer.
Yeah, we love suffering for 10 miles up a mountain because the summit
Yeah.
is the best feeling. And there are so many moments in work that are the same. And then when we do that in our personal life, that also allows for our distress tolerance and regulation ability to improve in our professional life. And it's just something I'm always thinking of. Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think, how is this feeding this? And how is this supporting this?
Yes.
What's going to apply there? And that's just wild to me that I think about it that much.
And I've talked about this a lot with a lot of people on the podcast that this career has changed from relational, where deaf people invited us in, to more of a transactional because in ITPs they're pumping us out. Yes, and I also feel like it's extremely relational, at least in my heart, and at least the way we interact with people. Yes, I'm getting a paycheck, but like I don't think I can explain how much I care about these people and how like deeply moved I am by just humanness. Like I get teared up talking about it. Just like how many times have I text you and I'm like crying this job? Like it's not a transactional customer service. You hand me money and I say thank you and walk away. Like that is not, I believe, how majority of interpreters feel.
Yeah. And going back to boundaries, I mean, I will hold if someone wants me to hold their hand, I will hold like not in a babying way, but like if someone's getting a procedure done and they have no one there and they need somebody's hand to hold, I'm going to hold it. I don't know. So it's just yes, like I know in my ITP, I was trained up on the mentality of these are your boundaries, and we are professionals, and we are neutral, and largely we are conduits, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there
Mhm.
are ethics and there are code of professional conduct and all of that, but then there's just being a human and understanding humanity and the fact understanding that this is such a relationship based interaction. It's yeah,
It
and
can't
yes,
not
it's a
be.
job, and yes, it's work, but it is all still so dependent on the relationship and trust. I will say,
Mhm.
um, I think I've learned the most about vulnerability from
Yes.
deaf people.
Mm.
I've absolutely learned the most about vulnerability from the deaf community. I've learned the most about trust. I've learned the most about
Fucking resilience.
resiliency, patience, understanding, empathy. Like I don't know. I just like, of course, I don't understand the experience, but I would be so angry all the time. And
Mhm.
yet we're in every, we're in such significant moments for all of these deaf folks, and they welcome us in,
And they're
and
still kind.
they're kind. And well, like I wouldn't, I don't know that I can't say that I know that I would do that. And it's something I've experienced a thousand, I don't need countless times, thousands of times where I have not experienced that same level of vulnerability, trust, openness, empathy, understanding about all of those characteristics in any other real
Culture, group of
older
people.
community that I've engaged heavily with.
Well, and that makes me think of like how many how many disability conferences have we been to? How many meetings have we been to about this? How many other disabilities have I been now exposed to understand more about? And I don't know how to say this as politically correct as I can, but Andrea's point of view before I was an interpreter for many years was very societally influenced and quote unquote the normal is what people thought. This is what I thought. Deaf people are this, disabled people are that. That is what they are because that is what we knew or what we were taught. And I can't explain how much of a radical shift my brain, which then in turn affects my partner, which then in turn affects my neighbors, which then in turn affects everyone at my parents. Their view on any of this stuff is completely changed because of what I've said over the last 20 years. And that legit, there's nothing in your way other than yourself and or societal barriers. But like if we can give people the tools, anyone can do anything. And the most amazing people I've met are those people.
Yeah, yeah. I
We
mean,
get
I
to be in those
absolutely
spaces.
agree. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I feel very privileged all the time that
Yeah.
this is the job that I like. You won't catch me. And I was saying earlier, I understand about burnout and vicarious trauma, and it's because I care so much. You get to a place where you care so much, and then all the time you see all of these either massive oppressions or microaggressions and traumatic moments, and sometimes the best moments ever and the happiest moments. And um, if I didn't have a solid like understanding of myself and what I need that is ever growing and ever evolving, and if I didn't have my own self-care routines and all of the things I need, I don't know how long I'd last, just
Right.
because such it is such a relationship-based job, and there is so much humanity in it that it can get to a place where you go like, I just can't see it anymore, you know?
And just a few little fun tidbit things. You learn how ignorant general society is,
Mhm.
sadly. Just about everything. Um, and you also learn like so many little things about yourself. I need to have food all the time on me. And that's how I became friends with you because this girl showed up to class and didn't have food. And so apples come flying out of my bag. But like you learn all the little things that tangible things about ourselves. Um,
And I think I've
I'll-
learned also how to like not politically correctly, but what's the word? I've learned how to like call out ignorant hearing behavior or call in maybe more so.
Nice.
I've been trying to channel Kiki Palmer. I think Kiki Palmer is the best at so many things. I'm in love with Kiki Palmer. But calling in people like in a certain way. There was like this Wendy Williams clip where she's talking about the Usher situation, whatever, whatever. And the way Kiki addresses it, it was such a disarming, but like, no, that's actually not how it is situation.
Nice.
And so being able to learn how to navigate, like how to educate people, how to educate super ignorant people in a way that actually like sticks for them.
Direct but gentle. Yeah.
Direct but gentle. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
And I think that's because it's interesting. Like I've come across several hearing people who think they know a lot. And not that I know everything, but like they ask all these questions and then they don't take the answers that you have. And just being able to educate and make that impact feels important.
Yeah. That's all the tidbits I had on my list. Do you have any other last tidbits on your list?
I think that's a lot of what I have. Let me see.
There's so much.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying at the end, having a real like mindset shift has that's definitely happened for me across the last 11 and I'm very curious to see how it continues to
Right.
grow shift over
And
the
it's
that's like an exciting thing to think about.
and it's purely just from exposure of meeting. You're like, these fucking people are amazing. And they happen to be deaf, but like, whoa, look at the shit you're doing. Look at what you're doing. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Seeing the behind the scenes of
Yes.
different things is very cool.
We're really lucky. If I were to ever write a book, this is what I feel like I would want to write a book about. Like, I want to write about the job, but obviously we can't write about the situations. But man, all of everything we just talked about, I wonder if Spanish interpreters feel the same. I
Yeah.
wonder, like, I don't know who else can compare to this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I will say there's still jobs from probably years ago that will pop into my head and I'll still process them and I'll still think about them and the impact that they had on me or what somebody said or what happened. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing because a lot of times it ends with us alone in our cars and figuring out what do we do now with this thing that we have that's like not at all tangible, but is so very important. And how do we like continue to
Work
prepare?
through it.
Yeah,
Right.
through
If
it.
we get a parking lot debrief.
Yes. We're lucky we have a
Sorry.
team who's like aligned and likes to
Yes,
pop
that
it up
means
with the job.
more than anything.
Yeah.
Any last things we want to say? We're about at an hour.
Thanks for letting me come on here and talk. I feel like
This
we were
was
all
this
over
was
the
therapeutic.
heck in place. We were just talking about everything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I,
I'm proud of you. I think this is an awesome podcast and I'm excited to be on it.
I
Thanks.
mean, everything we just said, all is owed to the deaf community.
Yeah.
Period. Like yeah, anything and everything we just said, all of the work, all of the things that have changed in my life and the way it's affect my personal life, all wouldn't be
Yeah.
without them.
Because we wouldn't have this interpreting career without
Right.
their culture, their language, their community allowing,
Right.
allowing us into it and learning and welcoming us. And um, yeah, without being allowed into these spaces, I wouldn't have these learning opportunities and growth opportunities. So absolutely
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
At the end, I ask people to highlight a deaf-owned business or a deaf organization. You have a couple. Who do you want to
Yeah.
highlight?
Okay, so my two are Dozano Innovations, a deaf-owned, female-owned, LGBTQIA-owned, um, digital marketing and all things accessibility agency. And then my second one is Made of Milagros, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but also a female-owned, deaf-owned, LGBTQIA oh my gosh, the word that's coming to me is like cosmetology, but it's not. Like it's like skincare and like
Nice.
herbal, holistic remedies, tallows and tinctures and
Nice.
butters and stuff like that. And they're just like delicious and the best products ever. So
Awesome.
yeah, those are the two I'd like to call out.
I'll put that on the list. One last thing, you said the word accessibility. We didn't even say that. Like, isn't that always on our freaking brains in
Oh yeah.
regular life? I'm like, there's not captions there. That wasn't accessible. No one understood that.
The elevator's broken.
Yes.
Like yes, all the time.
Always.
I'm like, where's
Always.
your ADA compliance officer? Yeah.
Which is a good lens to have because it's about humans.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much. This was
Thank
therapeutic. This
you.
was just a normal Caroline and Andrea conversation,
I know.
really.
I know. It was.
Uh, awesome. Thanks so much, friend.
Thank you. Bye.